Ciao a tutti, good evening everyone, Happy New Year, first of all, and thank you for coming here this evening. My name is Lia Delphi, I'm the president, as you may know, of the Dante Alighieri Society of Michigan. With me we have Daniela, our vice president, and many of our board members are members of Dante and friends of Italian culture. Today we are going to repeat our annual event. I think it's almost 15 years that we do that together. And is a celebration? No. Is a reminder? Yes. Because there's no celebration of negative events of humanity. So thank you for attending. Thank you to our membership, to our board of directors that today are here with us. I'm going to call first Sharice, right? Membership chair of the Dante Alighieri Society. This is yours.
Buonasera. My name is Sharice Manganiello, and I'm the membership chair of the Dante Alighieri Society. I see so many very familiar faces, so thank you for coming out on this afternoon. And I see many faces that I don't know, and I hope to get to know better. So thank you again for coming out to join us this afternoon. I have just had the opportunity this afternoon to meet our new Consulate Zanotto, and Dante Alighieri Society has a history of collaboration with the Consulate in Italy, and we'd like to give you a welcome gift, presenting you with an honorary membership, and just looking forward to our continued partnership in promoting the Italian language and culture in Michigan.
Thank you very much.
Grazie Sharice. I'm going to give the mic to Daniela Henderson, our vice president. Grazie Daniela, è tutto tuo.
Sì.
Il microfono e lo
spazio. Well, thank you again for coming tonight. We are commemorating, as Lia said. Ogni volta che parliamo di questo tema la situazione diventa un po' pesante, giustamente diventa pesante. Noi non stiamo qui per giudicare, neanche per dare un voto al film che andremo a vedere o alle storie che andremo a sentire. Siamo qui per ricordarci di questo momento della storia, purtroppo ahimè molto triste, però fondamentale da ricordare proprio per capire cosa significa quando qualcuno dimentica di trattare l'altro come una persona. Quindi mi auguro di cuore che questo momento di riflessione possa essere costruttivo per tutti, però prima di vedere il film ascolteremo una storia personale di Paolo e non vedo l'ora veramente di sentirlo, perché ho sentito qualcosa e sembra veramente molto emozionante. Quindi grazie a Paolo per condividere questa storia con noi e grazie ancora a tutti voi.
Grazie Lia, grazie Daniela. Hello everybody, I'm very happy to be here today. As probably many of you know, I just took my assignment as the Italian consul in Detroit just a couple of weeks ago. So this is one of my first events, and I think it just came in the right time to have the opportunity to meet you and to present myself. And of course I'm sure that we will have the opportunity to organize many nice and interesting events, many nice and interesting things together. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Before we watch the movie chosen for today, as Daniel anticipated, I'm gonna tell you a family history which is very related to the Holocaust Memorial Day. I had a grandmother and two sisters of her who were prisoners in a German concentration camp during World War II, because this is like real a story of they were very young, they were high school and university students, and they did their best to save hundreds of people who were mostly Allied soldiers, so from the American Army, the UK, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, but of course also Jews and other people who were persecuted from the fascists and from the Nazis. And before starting with this presentation, which is going to be about this family history, and also I'd like to present a little my hometown, Padova, where all these facts took place. I'm very honored to to convey you an appeal that was made by our embassy and also by the National Italo-American Foundation. As you know, our beautiful island of Sicily and other parts of southern Italy were hit by a very severe floodings and hurricanes in the last few weeks. Entire villages, entire towns have been completely swept away. The situation is really dramatic. And as you probably know, the NIEF has organized a fundraising under the name of American Relief for Italy. We also put in the website and the social media pages of the Consulate, so if you wanted to find it more easily, so please, if someone of you want to donate for Italy, that would be of course very, very nice, very appreciated. I know that many of you have Italian roots, many of you have roots related to Sicily itself, so it would be of course a very nice and very appreciated thing, yeah, of course. So, I'm gonna start with this presentation. This place that you see is the Cathedral of Sant'Anthony, Basilica di Sant'Antonio. It's a very important Catholic church because Sant'Antonio himself is buried there. It was built in the 13th century when he died. And apart from its religious meaning, so we have really thousands of pilgrims who come every year from many different countries all around the world. But apart from its religious meaning, it is also a masterpiece of art because many of the chapels were painted by Giotto or by other painters, Italian painters of the 14th century, like for example Giusto de Menaboi was kind of the person who responsible to form Giotto himself, Alighieri da Zevio and other important Italian painters of the Middle Age. So I just would like to show you some of these chapels. This is one. So they have very nice frescoes from the 14th century, and this is a reason why this cathedral, together with other 8 or 9 different places in the city center, have been awarded UNESCO Heritage in 2021, so 5 years ago. The name of the application of the candidature was Padova Urs Picta in Latin, which means like painted city, because it was UNESCO heritage related to Middle Age paintings and especially to the technique of fresco, which was very widespread in our city at that time. So we had these places in the Cathedral of Sant'Anthony, and then we have this one, which is very well known in Italy, but I have to say our city and its treasures are becoming more and more appreciated also by the international tourism, and this is something that of course we are really proud of, and our city council has done together with the national institution, the Ministry of Culture and also the UNESCO committee really a great work of promotion. We have this place which is called Cappella degli Scrovegni Chapel, and it's a very interesting history because this chapel were paid for by a very rich man who came from a family of people who lend money with very high rate of interest, and so basically he decided to fund the building of this chapel dedicated to the Holy Virgin and the Holy Family, to kind of redeem his family, and his commission to cathedral this chapel to Giotto himself, who had just painted the Cappella Sistina Roma in the same years, so the artist's time is kind of similar. And this is called Giudizio Universale, so it's a very nice painting where it's represented the part where the sinners are separated from the good ones, let's say, the Day of Judgment. So it's very impressive. Also the use of the colors. And many critics say that this chapel is not only a masterpiece of art, but it represented also a new way for the painting itself, because Middle Age art, it was not usual to represent people's emotions. So until that time, the 13th century, the art was kind of the Byzantine art, where all the people were very, all the images were very emotionless. And Giotto decided for the first time in Middle Age art to represent people's emotions. And also this painting that you can see on the left is this kiss between Gioacchino and Anna, so the parents of the Holy Virgin, and it's said to be the first kiss of the Middle Age art. So it's also very nice. It was like a very nice shift, let's say, in the way of representing representing people and representing the Middle Age art. And here we have, for example, another kiss. Of course, in this case it's very different because it's like Judas' kiss, so it's a kiss of a traitor, of course, who is like giving Jesus Christ away to the Romans. And then Padova is also very well known for its university, that together with Bologna and Napoli, the Federico II, they are the three most ancient university in Italy, but I would say also in the world, because it dates back to 1222. So we celebrated the 800th jubileum of the university just some years ago, and I was also a university employee at that time, so I took part also in the organization of all the events. It was a very important university during the Middle Age. It was the only university in Italy that accepted students who were not Catholic. That's the reason why many students came from England, came from Germany, came from other countries in Northern Europe. And it was very good for the university because we had very important figures like Copernicus, Keplerus, William Harvey, so very important scientists who could be professors here. And also related to today's commemoration, it was the only university that accepted Jewish students. And this is also why our city had a really huge Jewish community until World War II, because throughout the centuries the Jews could live here with basically the same rights as our people. They could be university professors, university students, and this is something that of course we really appreciate it also today. This is it at the bottom, is like it's called Teatro Anatomico, so it's the place where Galileo Galilei made its experiment. So the University of Padova is said to be one of the places where the modern medicine has been developed, thanks to Galileo Galilei and thanks to many pathologists who used to teach here. And at the entrance of this teatro we have like a quote in Latin, which is like mors ubi gaudet succurrere vitae, so it means where the death is happy to support the life, because studying the corpse of dead people, the Middle Age communities could learn a lot about the medicine and try to improve the condition of the living ones. So that was also a very nice and interesting fact, I think. Oh, another things we're very proud of. You see here in the right, we have this statue of Elena Lucrezio Cornaro Piscopia, who is said to be the first woman who graduated in the world. So the first woman awarded with a university degree. She graduated in 1678 in philosophy. She came from a very rich, important family in Venice. She was a very clever woman. She could speak like 5 or 6 different languages, and she was very determined to pursue a university education. And the nice thing is that her father was very supportive of her, and she kind of had a fight with the bishops, with all the authorities in the church, but also in the city council, because he really wanted for her daughter to have a university education and to be able to graduate. So this is also a very nice thing that we are very proud of. On the left, there is this astronomical observatory, this tower, which was also the place where Galileo Galilei did this observation about the stairs. And yeah, then we have many other nice things in the city. This is called Prato della Valle. It's one of the biggest squares in Europe. It's very peculiar because it's made of a canal, and around it there are hundreds of statues of famous people who used to live in Padova. Interesting fact is that Dante Alighieri himself, who this place is dedicated, spent almost 20 years in our city and has a statue dedicated here. And apart from him, we have like Francesco Petrarca, who was also a very important Italian poet and writer, and Galileo Galilei, of course, and many other important people who kind of shaped the history of our city. And yeah, then we have a city center, which is also very, very nice, very interesting. It's all for pedestrian, so you can walk there. There are like no cars, and there are many streets with cobblestones. There are many nice buildings that used to be, for example, the seat of the Venetian government during the Middle Age. And in the perfect Italian tradition, so these squares are also very alive. So in the evening, many people meet there just to have a drink and to enjoy this kind of outdoor lifestyle. And this, so now I'm coming to the history of my family related to the Holocaust Memorial Day. This used to be the part of the city where the Jewish community lived, so the so-called ghetto. And it's also a very nice place because there are all these streets with cobblestone, with these arcs, which are very typical of the architecture of our city. It's also, I don't know if someone who has ever been to Bologna, for example, but it's kind of the same style. So they are the true Italian city where these arts are more present, are more widespread. And yes, so I had to say it's a city with a huge history, with huge artistic treasures. I think that in the past it was a little undervalued, also due to the proximity of Venice, because it's only half an hour with the train. So the fact of being very close to a very well-known city has kind of penalized us, I guess. But I'm very happy to say that also thanks to this UNESCO Heritage Proclamation, my hometown is becoming more and more popular, more well-known to the Italian first, but also from people from other countries. So I'm very happy about that. So now I'm coming to the more historical presentation. I have to say first that all these materials are in Italian. It was not possible for us to translate it, so I'm just doing my presentation in English, and anyway, I will not like read them, so they are just like a trace, but many of them know Italian as well, so it's nice because you can also read the facts in a clearer way. So this presentation is about this family, Famiglia Martini. It was a family with 12 kids, so a very huge family, but back in the day it was very normal. And actually my grandmother is this girl with the white gown, and she was like 9 years old at that time. And then the other three sisters who are involved in this history were the one in the left, always this with the white gown, and she's like the oldest one, and the youngest one who is like sitting, and yes, and Renata, who is like her. So there were 4 sisters in a family with 6 males and 6 female children. And this family was quite rich family, so they owned some fields, they had some properties, and it was a very Catholic family. And it was, I would say, also a very liberal family because because my ancestors wanted, for example, all their children, all female children as well, to have a university education, to be able to study. So my grandmother used to be a high school teacher for all her career, and they all attended the university. These pictures was taken in 1938, so just before the beginning of World War II. And of course, the war came as like a hurricane in the history of our family, so now we are skipping to 1943, where the armistice from between Italy and the Allies took place just a couple of days after the armistice. Italy, and Padua also in this case, was occupied by the Germans, and it would remain occupied by the German until the 25th of April 1945, so for half 2 years. In that time, my grandmother had like 3 brothers who were fighting for the Italian army, and they had been captured, so they were prisoners of war of the Allies. And she decided, she together with her sister decided to do something especially for the Allied prisoner of war in Italy, because she thought her parents were a little scary of this situation. I think you would be happy if you knew that someone was doing something good for our brothers, like we are trying to do for other people here, so like in our reciprocity. And this history, the main character of this history is this priest, Padre Placido Cortese, who is becoming right now a saint of the Catholic Church. He was a priest coming from Istria, which is like a peninsula that was part of Italy at that time, but now it's divided between Slovenia and Croatia. So he was bilingual, he could speak both Italian and the Slavic languages. And when Italy, together with Germany, invaded Yugoslavia in 1941, we had a concentration camp for the prisoner of wars coming from Yugoslavia in our city. And he decided, knowing also their mother tongue, he decided to be point of contact, a point of support. So he used to come there with other people to bring to this prisoner of war some food, some letters from home, to give them some material, but also some spiritual relief. And after the armistice, they decided to do the same things with many Allied soldiers who had escaped the place where they had done forced labors. So after the armistice, the Italian army kind of left these camps behind. They were able to escape, but they find themselves in a very bad situation because like the winter was coming, and of course it's not like the winter of Michigan, but even in northern Italy, especially back in that time, winter used to be very cold, and these people had nowhere to go. They were like hiding in the countryside, in the fields. They were given help by many farmers, but it was very dangerous because if you were found out to host one of the people, you could have like your house burned and the whole family imprisoned or even executed. So that was very dangerous. And my grandmother Lydia, together with her sister Liliana and Teresa, decided to join this secret association that had its headquarters, I could say, in the Basilica di Sant'Antonio, which still nowadays belongs to the Vatican State. So it's like an embassy, and both the Italian but even the German military police never dared to enter in the cathedral. So it was like the only safe place in the city. And from there they decided to produce false documents, also with the help of people who were working in the city council. They also got some money from the Vatican to be able to pay these people to make false documents, because it was the only way. And they decided, together with many helpers, so in this history we have like soldiers. We have also this figure, Vice Console Inglese di Lugano, so like a colleague of mine who was trying to help these people to escape from northern Italy to neutral Switzerland. And what they did, basically, it was to organize many train travels that took hundreds of people, because it lasted more than a year. So we took hundreds of people from Padova to Milan, from Milan up north to like Como, and there were some people who were paid to smuggle the prisoners in Switzerland, so into a neutral country and into a safe situation. And yeah, that was my mother and my grandmother in the left. She was 22 at that time. She passed out 15 years ago, so I had the privilege to hear the history from her own lips. And she told me that these train travels were very dangerous because, of course, it was full of spies, and it was a time where just a suspect of anybody could lead to a police report, an imprisonment, and they had all these people who were coming from the, let's say, the Anglo-Saxon countries, so they could not speak Italian, of course, and sometimes it happened that other people tried to talk to them. So these girls had to be very clever, had to be very quick to say, excuse me, sir, but this gentleman is deaf, so he cannot hear you, or this type of things, because they had to try to remove any type of suspect. And this train travel lasted from more than a year. Unfortunately, the 14th of March 1944, Teresa and Liliana, so the two sisters of my grandmother, were arrested because there were some spies, and they were brought to Venice, to a female prison, and then they were sentenced to death, but they decided to commute the death sentence into imprisonment, actually here in Mauthausen. So this is Liliana with the red triangle. The red triangle was there for the political prisoner, let's say. And they spent more than a year in Mauthausen, a German concentration camp in the territory of Austria. It was a concentration camp with also the gas chamber, but many people there found their death in another way, a very cruel way, I have to say, which is this one. This one was called the stair, the ramp of death, because prisoners were forced to take very heavy stones up and down, and every time someone exhausted fall on the ground, all the people who were not able to walk anymore were shot by the German soldiers. So the gas chamber were even not necessary to kill these people, because many of them were dead of starvation, of course tortures, and were shot. There were also the gas chambers. So Liliana and Teresa actually got into a gas chamber, and they told me that they were very happy because they thought it was a time for a shower finally, so they had no idea what was going to happen at that time. And I have to say, I'm very proud to say that here in this room that the American, how can I say, the Air Force, the American Air Force saved their life, because just in that time the American Air Force bombed factory of weapons very nearby to the camp. So the German soldiers were in need of young people with full energy to do forced labor. So they were called back from the gas chamber before the activation of the gas itself, and they were forced to work like 14 or 15 hours a day in this factory to produce part of weapons, basically to help to help Germany war, let's say. Yeah, so they had to stay in 2 or 3 different places in Austria, from Mauthausen to Grain, and yeah, they also had this permission to enter the concentration camp. Since I spent myself 1 year in Germany at university, I speak German, so my family asked me a couple of years ago to translate all these. They are like working permits, basically. And yes, a nice thing is that Teresa, the oldest one, met her future husband in the concentration camp. It was this guy, Andrea. He was a student of medicine from Padova, and she heard that someone was speaking the dialect of our city, so they kind of approached him, and they met there, and they would marry and have like 3 or 4 children after the war. So there was like a happy ending in some way. And yeah, so here they say what they had to do in this camp. It's also, I wouldn't dare to say funny, of course, but it's also interesting how different they were from us, because she told the history that once, for example, a guy from Czechoslovakia kissed her, and she was afraid to become pregnant of that, because of course they didn't have all this education about these facts. So yeah, so this is kind of interesting, of course. And they spent like more than 1 year in Mauthausen, and they were liberated by the Americans in May 1945. Here you have some pictures of the liberation of the camp, the 6th and 7th of May 1945. And I have to say that during that time, my grandmother was able to escape this arrest because she was doing one of these trips. So she hid for a couple of months, but when she came back to Padova in January 1945, she was arrested as well. She had stayed in 2 or 3 different camps for forced labor in South Tyrol, so in this region between Italy and Austria. And she was able to come back home in between May and June 1945. The trip back home lasted more than a month for all of them. And the interesting fact is that when they finally were able to come back to their city, they didn't know if their house was still there, if their family was still there. So the first things that they decided to do was to go into the cathedral to look for Padre Cortese, from this priest. And they were even reprimanded by a priest because they went there with the clothes from the prison. And at that time it was not accepted for women to use pants, so they were reprimanded, and they answered, "Oh, dear father, so if you just knew where we're coming from and why we're here." And they found out that unfortunately Padre Cortese had been kidnapped by the German the year before. He was taken to Trieste. He was tortured to death, basically, because he was very brave and he didn't say a word about the organization. He didn't give away my grandmother and the other people. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably be here myself today. And yes. So Liliana received also an award from the British Army. So I decided to read it to you because it could be interesting. So this certificate is awarded to Martini Carla Liliana as a token of gratitude for and appreciation of the help given to the sailors, soldiers, and airmen of the British Commonwealth of Nations, which enabled them to escape from or avoid capture by the enemy. That was by the Supreme Allied Commander, Alexander. Of course, many things that people used to ask them is, why did you do that? Because, you know, they were from a Catholic family. Theoretically, they had nothing to do with the war. They always answered that they never wanted to be considered as heroes. They always said, we just did what we wanted to do in our soul. We just decided to do the right thing, as many other people. And the other interesting things that we received a lot is, why didn't they talk about that? Because you have to know that all this history came out like in the 90s. So basically when the Holocaust Memorial Day was created. So for more than half a century there was total silence about these facts. Of course, the experience was very traumatic, so they just wanted to go on with their lives. They had jobs, they had like kids, they had families, so they didn't want to get stuck in these very, very hard memories. But starting from the 90s, they decided to do their best to tell their history. So they went to many schools in Italy. They even wrote some books about that. One of them in Italian is called Catena di Salvezza, and for whoever can read Italian, I really suggest it because it's a very nice history of these facts. And yeah, and now there is like a collective effort from the city to preserve their memory. So the city of Padova decided to open, this is like Giardino dei Giusti, the Garden of the Righteous. Like the example, of course, is the Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, but there are many others in many different cities. That was opened in 2008. I was like a high school student at that time. I remember going to the ceremony. Here you have all the Martini sisters. They passed out just a couple of years ago, so they had a very long life despite of all what happened to them. And they were able to tell their history to many people. And now we are trying to do the same. So I have an uncle who organizes many conferences in Italy. For the first time, I'm able to do that here. So it's very touching actually for me that this history has kind of crossed the ocean and came from Italy to Michigan. This is a very interesting fact that I wouldn't have expected just a couple of years ago. And we were very proud also that in the year 2015, our President of the Republic, Sergio Mattarella, came to Padova to open the academic year of the university, and basically he made a speech dedicated to many people, including Lydia, Liliana and Teresa Martini, and I'd like also to read it. So, gli eroi che hanno donato la vita per la nostra libertà, dobbiamo affiancare gli eroi quotidiani che salvarono vite, che diedero rifugio ad ebrei, che si prestarono a compiti di cura e di supporto, come le sorelle Lidia, Liliana, Teresa Martini, padovane, che guidarono la fuga dai campi di concentramento di decine e decine di prigionieri alleati, prima dando loro il pane e un nascondiglio, poi stradandoli nottetempo verso la Svizzera, attraverso la rete costruita da padre Placido Cortese e da due latinisti di grande fama, Ezio Franceschini dell'Università Cattolica, Concetto Marchesi, in seguito rettore dell'Ateneo di Padova e deputato comunista. And yes, and just 3 months ago, November 2025, our city decided to open a bridge dedicated to my grandmother and to sister of her, Passerella Sorelle Martini. So yeah, it's a small symbol, but it's something that of course we are appreciated a lot. And I thank you very much, because part of my commitment, part of my efforts is to renew this memory. I know that my grandmother is not here anymore, and the generation of my parents will pass away sooner or later. So now it's like up to me and to people of my age to try to preserve this memory. So I really thank you, because you gave me the opportunity to do here today for the first time abroad, outside of Italy, here in Michigan. So thank you very much, really.
Grazie per aver condiviso con noi. Grazie mille, una storia eccezionale. I hope everyone understand how important for the council was, share his family history with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.